The patient recall area in the charge screen allows you to attach recalls to a patient's account and assign a time in the future when it is recommended that a patient return for an additional visit. The functionality of patient recalls works with the appointment, charge, inquire, labels, letters, and report modules to better track and easily handle each stage of a recall for a patient, so that you will be capable of not only knowing when a patient is due for a recall, but whether or not each recall has been fulfilled. Reports, labels, and letters can be produced from the information entered in the patient recall screen. To enter a patient recall for a patient, click the Charge tab and access the patient you want to add a recall for. Once the patient has been accessed, click the Patient Recall tab. The recall list will display any patient recalls that have been previously entered for this patient. To add a new recall, click the New button. In the Recall Type field, enter the recall type for the patient recall you want to add, or search for it by clicking the Look Up button or pressing F3. In the Recall Date field, click the drop-down arrow and select the recall date for the patient recall. Do note you also have the ability to select a recall date for 1, 3, 6, or 12 months into the future by clicking the corresponding button. While you can also advance a specified number of days, weeks, months, or years into the future using the Advanced fields. The recall date will advance based on the date currently in the Recall Date field. If this field is blank, then the recall date will advance from today's date. In the Provider field, enter the provider associated with the patient recall you are adding, or search for it by clicking the Look Up button or pressing F3. Next, in the Procedure field, enter the optional procedure associated with the recall, or search for it by clicking the Look Up button or pressing F3. Check the Show on Clinical Face Sheet option if you want the recall information to appear on the face sheet in the clinical application. You can then check the Fulfilled option if this recall has been fulfilled. The Reminder Method field allows you to select how you contacted the patient for a recall reminder. Do note that any reminder method that was configured in the patient screen will default in the Patient Recall tab at the bottom of the screen. Select the Recall Reminder type, if applicable. When the Reminder Method field is configured, the system will utilize this information when calculating applicable meaningful use objectives and measures. When finished, click the Add Another button to save the current recall and add another recall for this patient, or click the OK button to save the current recall and exit the new recall dialog. Or you can click the Cancel button to exit the new recall dialog without saving the current recall information. When finished, click the Save button.